So I am continuing with reading my book, and there's a chapter in here on finance capitalism and how, I guess in not so many words, just how toxic the working world is for a lot of people and corporate America in general. And I think it is, and it's not like I'm a crybaby who wants to sit on my couch and collect government aid. It's just from what I've seen in my career, and I've talked about it on this channel too, things that I've witnessed at jobs I've had. And not only with very toxic supervisors, but I've seen how other coworkers were affected as well, and how the mental and emotional stress and the disregard for people's well-being took a toll on their health. Like, I would see people chain smoke and drink and gain weight over the years. Men would have heart issues. It was a very toxic environment that I was in, and like I said, eventually I plan on going back to work, but it makes me just kind of appreciate my time as an at-home mom. I'm making a video after all the toxic BS that I was exposed to. So, this chapter on finance capitalism talks about, it opens up basically saying capitalism lies at the heart of American society. The legacy of abuse of this system is death and misery. Though it's an imperfect measure, we can begin to see the impact of finance capitalism in the spike in suicides in areas affected by the recent financial collapse. Since the beginning of the worldwide financial recession in 2008, there have been more than 10,000 suicides in North America and Europe. According to the British Journal of Psychiatry, researchers said this nearly 10% rise in deaths was due to lost jobs, lowered home prices, stock losses, and dwindling pensions. Furthermore, since 2002, the number of workers collecting Social Security disability insurance checks grew 48%, half of whom claim disability due to mental or mood disorders to include back pain. Dead and disabled Americans are among the most obvious reminders of the rise of giant multinational corporations and banks whose globalist leadership is advancing an agenda of increasingly tight control and depopulation and for enormous profit. Yeah, so again, it's kind of like what I just said about just like corporate America and the working world in general. And I've actually seen a lot of this kind of thing firsthand, and it's kind of how just societal narcissism is everywhere, and narcissists and sociopaths are the ones that are running everything right now. They're the ones that are running the banks, that are the head of all these, that are the heads of companies usually, or sociopaths or narcs, and they abuse their workers and make them physically ill. And this is something I think this is, well, it's in the working world a lot, but I think this type of mentality has even filtered down to the school system. I mean, my son's not in school yet, but I think just the way conformity is pushed, and every other child has some sort of label now, and it's just like, and I think there's a paragraph in here too, which I think sums it up perfectly. The late outspoken comedian George Carlin, he's one of my father's favorites, George Carlin, offered this unfunny view of the globalists. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They want obedient workers, people who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork, and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shitty jobs with lower pay, longer hours, reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. So yeah, that was George Carlin. I guess he was a little, I don't know when this was from that he said this, but he might have been a little ahead of his time, kind of seeing what's going on right now. But, and as I said, this is all stuff I've witnessed firsthand. I think there's sort of a trend in society where people conformity is really pushed, and if you don't fit, you're persecuted and outcasted, labeled, called crazy, whatever. And I think this is why, like, these narcs running everything and just gaslighting in general is so rampant in our society. And all these narcissistic tactics just sort of like trying to convince people that they're not really seeing what they're seeing. And that goes for, between schools and the working world, and even your narcissistic parents and the way your family, the way they treat you at home. And they probably, because they grew up in this system, they probably absorbed a lot of the same tactics and the same mentality and use that to abuse their children as well. So really it's very dangerous if you're not aware of this type of thing. It's very, very easy to become gaslighted and kind of pressured into conforming and to just become like a mindless drone, like is stated here. And I've seen this firsthand, like people that just kind of go along to get along, but they do everything they can to keep their job and just uphold the system, even though they're miserable and gaining weight and chain smoking and this and that. And I was young, like maybe late 20s or 30, and I'm looking around, I'm like, this isn't really what I want for myself. I mean, again, I will eventually work again, but like I'm kind of, because of what I've witnessed, I'm actually like, I'm just like enjoying my time as a mother now, just out of the toxic work environments. But it's like, and I may get looked at as a crazy person because I think I'm like one of the only people, I feel like, that really sees at a high level what all of this stuff is. And it's because of what I've witnessed myself and kind of what I knew all along but didn't really have a word for it. And also, Ollie Matthews' channel has helped me a lot with this, to see the connection between societal narcissism in general and the treatment that your family may give you, because it's all kind of interconnected when you think about it, when you read a book like this. Yeah, so yeah, that was the comedian George Carlin, who was notably outspoken. It was just pretty funny, actually. Yeah, so those were just some readings from the book, and I'll talk to you soon.